Okay, and a few years back, I used to be really into the party scene at rave music, and I can't fucking stand it now at all. But for a while, I got into this phase where me and my friends were doing this drug that hadn't even been made illegal yet. It was called amimethyltryptamine, called AMT. But one time we went to this party, and before I left, the part that still fucks with me was I opened a fortune cookie right before I left, and it said, "You will see the pyramids in Egypt." Now, it's just kind of a weird thing to see on a fortune cookie, you know, because that's not something, you know, it's just not something you see all the time, right? So, anyways, we went to this party. It was all cool. I was there with my flashy fucking clothes and my money and my outfit and my stupid drugs and whatnot, and all these stupid egocentric bastards just like myself running around getting all hopped out on some dumbass shit that took away any kind of spirit that I could have possibly had at the time. And anyways, I took my dose and crossed that point of flicker, and I think I ate a couple of rolls too that night. But eventually, I was just walking around, and eventually things started to get really, really hot, like abnormally hot. And I just decided to go and dance, and I was going off for a while, like getting into my groove, and it started to feel like I was coming up off the ground. It got kind of scary because, you know, it's just not something that you normally expect to come off of the ground when you're just having fun. I was looking around, and people's faces started having scales and kind of having this lizardly type look to them. So when I was talking to one of my friends about how evil the scene had been seeming lately, because I was just realizing like what I had done with my impact and what I was putting on other people with the drugs and whatnot, and with just like how money based and how much consumption goes into it. You know, there's so much energy all for this thing, so people can just basically go and have this huge, you know, it's a fashion show of sorts, you know, and it's an ego play. But anyways, at the end of our conversation, he said to me, he's like, "Yeah, it's an ugly world, Cole." He took a drag off his cigarette, and as the end of the cigarette lit up, so did his lips, and his face turned into ashes, and parts of his face started to fall off. And that kind of bugged me out a little bit, right? So I was like, "Oh crap, I better leave." So I looked up to the projection screen as I'm walking out, and there was like rabid dogs with froth on their mouth and blood and all this, and Native American women nursing babies. I looked over the wall, and they had these lasers going off, and there was pyramids there. And I was like, "Oh shit, something really crazy is closing in on me right now." Kind of worked me out a little bit. So I left, and I went outside, and it was about 10 degrees. And there was these two girls there, and I told them my story, and Harvin was just, "This is a really sinister party, and there's some kind of control from someone going on here." And they're like, "Yeah, that's why we like it." And she opened her mouth, and I could have swore I saw little razor-sharp pieces of glass lodged in her gums as teeth, right? So that just freaked me out even more. And it was really cold, and I hadn't gotten the keys for the car from my friend. And by the time I was outside, I actually felt like my head had leveled out, and I was like, "Whoa, I was really fucked up, and now I feel like I'm sober." You know, which is really strange because I don't think I was. But anyways, I went and tried to open the car door. It was obviously locked. I hadn't got the keys. I started walking down the road, and it just seemed like the road was a treadmill because I was trying to get to this gas station and get some coffee because I was fucking freezing, right? And it seemed like the road was a treadmill. I wasn't getting any closer to the coffee shop, right? And I was just really intense situation. But these cats, like the only car that had come the whole time, I'd been walking for at least a half an hour, not getting any closer to this little gas station, and this minivan pulls over, these three kids in it, and they looked like they were probably on their way to the party. And they're like, "Oh, you want to ride over to the gas station?" I was like, "Yeah, man, that'd be awesome." So they started driving back to the party, and I was like, oh fuck, man, I really don't want to go back there. And I told him, let me out, man, or I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna kick your ass. And they're all just like, "No, man, it's cool. We'll take you there just a second. We just gotta go drop this kid off, and we're gonna go there." But I got freaked out. I started freaking out, and I had these cargo pants, right? And I had like $800 in my pocket or something. And one of them saw it, and they started hitting me from all sides, right? And my money is flying around the inside of this van. They're all hitting me, and I cold cocked one of them and bashed the other one with my back of my hand, right? And I kicked the side window of the van out and jumped out, going like 40, did a fucking Jackie Chan roll on the road and all this. It's crazy. The whole thing I walked through as if I was watching a movie. It's really insane. But So after the Jackie Chan roll, I got up, and they whipped at you in their minivan. They yelled, "You're gonna die!" And I said, "No, I'm not." And I started booking down the street, you know. And I ran into these woods and ran through this big chunk of woods out through on the other highway on the other side of the woods. And I ended up jumping a barbed wire fence. Both of my shoes got lost. My feet were crusted with frozen, like snow that had frozen onto my feet. My pants got ripped in half. I was wearing only one leg of pants, and my slashes all. I jumped a razor wire fence. I had slashes all over myself, and I got back on the highway. I was walking, and I seen them driving around trying to figure out a way to get over by me. And I started ripping up my money and throwing my money all over the place, right? And like, there's some really interesting realizations I had that night that I don't talk about too much, but but I started ripping my money out and taking out all my jewelry and throwing it on the road because I felt like I had seen them for what they were. So especially some of the symbolism that can be held therein. But then I got to this building. It was some kind of a technologies building or something. I can't remember exactly what it said. But I was freezing my ass off, and at this point I just wanted to get inside because I felt like I was going to die, right? So I started bashing on this door, right? It was bulletproof glass, but I was bashing on it with my hands and screaming at God and bashing on it with my hands and my head, and blood covering me, and I'd love to see the videotapes actually from the camera, because the camera pointing right at me the whole time. It was the surveillance camera, and there's alarms going off and all this, and I was running at it and throwing my entire body, and it wouldn't break. And finally I was like, well, fuck, this ain't gonna work. I might as well just die with dignity. And there's a field right next to the place that went. You couldn't see anything on the other side of the field. There's some woods, and I figured I probably wouldn't make it across the field because I felt like my lungs were freezing as I was breathing in. So I started walking across this field, and I got, you know, maybe 100 yards into this field, and I just fell down. You know, and by then I had taken my shirt off, and my shirt had gotten ripped off or something. I don't really know. I was a bit delusional, I might say. But so anyways, I was laying there for I don't know how long, and I got really warm. I got really, really warm. And I stood up, and I couldn't feel my feet anymore. It was like I was hovering. And I hovered, and I realized that adjacent to the building that I had been at was a Holiday Inn or something of the sort, or some kind of hotel, one of the bigger, like an XL or something like that. But so I went to this place, and I walked in, and I was all covered with blood, pretty much naked, and the guy behind the counter's jaw dropped. He's like, I'm like, can you call me an ambulance, man? You know, because I'm obviously in shambles. And he's like, called and says, crazy white boy's bleeding to death. And he was, you know, he gave me this white blanket, and there was a really interesting feeling watching like my blood slowly get bigger puddles coming through this white blanket that was wrapped around me. I kind of felt like I was Jesus wrapped in the shroud or something. And eventually all the police came in. He got me some coffee to warm up, and I dumped it on top of my head. And, the next day, when I had gotten out of the hospital, I got blisters on my head and everything. But actually, I wrote a poem for the nurses, and she started telling me about her peyote trips and everything, and how next time I do that kind of thing, I ought to just stay home. But anyways, don't ever take amimethyltryptamine. It's a very dangerous thing. It lasts for entirely too long. It feels like you're on ecstasy speed and a bunch of acid.